Thank you, and good morning to everybody listening to us right now on the Voice of the People, Rock City 101.9 FM, broadcasting from the Radio House, Ashiro, Abeokuta. Yes, Citizens Forum, that time of the program in which we take you around some intelligent, exciting, and of course, issues that has to do with what you do on a regular basis. A different day, a different topic. That's the way we will be doing it this morning. Dele Ayodo is my name.
All right, you're welcome back. It's still the Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM. This morning on Citizens Forum, we'll be giving our searchlight once again on the gubernatorial race, talking about 2019. Sometimes ago, we looked at who succeeds the incumbent governor, Senator Ibikunle Amosun. You will recall that the governor also, while speaking with some political stakeholders and, of course, members of his party at the Cultural Center, Kuto, he talked about who he thinks or where. We're talking about where, you're talking about region or the senatorial district he feels should actually um, present his successor. Well, the statement granted to the governor is that the central, which he belongs to, should not even consider uh, presenting a candidate for the 2019 governorship election. He also said that the Ogun West senatorial district, talking about the Yewa Warriors, who have never had a shot at the Okemoso government house, should be supported by all and sundry to actually get the ticket. But he said they should get their acts together so that they can present a formidable candidate that can challenge and, of course, get there. But he also added a caveat that he will not support a candidate from Ogun East, but he will not campaign against. This has actually led to the argument in some quarters that the Ogun East will believe that they have a very, very strong chance in actually getting this ticket because they believe that there is nothing like Ogun West, Ogun East, Ogun Central. What they believe is that there is only Ijebu and Egba, and Yewa Warriors are part of Egba because they are Egbado. So when you have 8 years coming from the central, then the 8 years you go back to the east. Well, you look at all this and you begin to wonder where the politics of rotational politics or rotational governorship positions comes into play in Ogun State. Some believe that Ogun West should be given that opportunity, while others believe that there's nothing like that. You have to allow everybody come to the same table to actually test the waters and, of course, prove their mettle. And whoever is given that opportunity should carry out all-round development of the entire state. That's what we'll be looking at this morning. We are expected to have one person who will be arguing for those who believe that Ogun East should get the shot, and of course, one person will argue for whether Ogun West should get the shot, no matter the situation.
Of course, for those who know us, we do not pretend on this program. So it's an open secret that that argument, that should I say, difference in opinion is high in the minds and lips of Ogun indigenes across the different senatorial zone. The East, like Toby says, strongly still believe that there are just two divisions in the state. It is the Ijebu-Remo division and what they call Egbado division. So there's nothing like a senatorial zone. And really, Filas, which is also very strong, the Awujale, a revered, respected, in fact, one of the most respected traditional ruler in the states, is standing with that position that the Egbado division has had 8 years. It should come back to the Jebu Rebon division for another 8 years. That's what political observers will find very interesting when the official combat begins. It's already on, really. You may say 18 months to election day, February 2019, but in politics, believe it, no time is too early or too short for the cloud to change. That's what we'll be looking at, like Tobi said this morning. We have somebody here who believes strongly and is going to tell us why Ogun West should have the shot. We are expecting another believer in the position of the Ogun East. As soon as he comes in, we will introduce him. But in the meantime, here the time do not wait for anybody. I have with us former commissioner for agriculture here in the Ogun State. I hope I am correct. Okay, Honourable Tunji Akinosi is here with us. Honourable Akinosi, you're welcome to the Daybreak Show.
Good morning, Mr. Ayodo. Good morning to our viewers.
Listeners,
sorry. I'm used to this TV thing.
All right, Honourable Tunji Akinosi, straight on. There's no need to hide behind one thing. Why do you think Ogun West should be given the opportunity this time around?
Thank you very much. Good morning once again, our listeners. First and foremost, permit me to thank His Excellency, the Governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, for coming out formally to say all the things he said earlier, and to say the Ogun West indigents of this state appreciate him. Secondly, everybody will have his or her own claims, but after 41 years, if you are in a family of three, two has been eating the cake of the family and one individual has not taken, and that individual says, I want to take my portion now, and you start coming out with whether senatorial, whether divisional arguments, we look at it as being very, very unfair. Fairness is part of the templates of democracy, and if you have three legs, two is standing very well, and the last one says, I want to stand, and you say you are talking about division, you're talking about senatorial. Three senatorial districts are recognized by the Constitution: Ogun East, Ogun West, and Ogun Central. Two has had it severally. One has never. Even if we talk about division, we know there is Ijebu division, there is Remo division, there is Egba, and there is the one you call Egbado, which to the glory of God now we don't bear Egbado anymore. We bear Yeba, Awori, having been confirmed by the Senate some weeks ago. Out of the four divisions, three have consistently ruled this state. One has never had the opportunity to do so. Thirdly, when Ogun State was being created, 20 local governments were said to be created. Unfortunately, the Ogun West people that has more landmarks than some other senatorial districts in this state has 5 local governments. Ogun East, 9, and Ogun Central, 6. So why we are pleading? Why are we pleading? We are pleading not because we know we cannot vie or struggle or fight for a shirt as they do in a football team, but from the beginning we are being marginalized. If you say Ogun East, let's go to the primaries of any of the political parties. With 9 local governments, we have equal 5s or 20s or 100s that you bring from each local government. So the local government with 9 automatically will win in any race where you have
Honourable Akinosi, you had your point, but let me use those words, the template you said, to do this clarification. First, if you say a family of 3 children, the East, particularly from the paramount ruler, says, okay, let's say 3 children, but this time the same template in Yoruba land, we have what we call Idigi. So the way it is done is, it is given to the one Idigi, then the way you want to share it is, well, that's the position of the land.
Of the local.
That is not 3 children now, it's Idigi. So this is your own portion as shared from the division. So whoever you want to give it to, you give it to. That's one. 2, when you say marginalize, it's like some people deliberately kick Ogun West out. And the facts are there that even from 1979, nobody has stopped Ogun West from contesting. Late Afolabi Olabinton contested, and so many other people till the last 2015 election. There are so many Ogun West who have contested but lost. So it's not a question of anybody deliberately marginalizing Ogun West, but it is the Ogun West people who have not gotten themselves organized.
Well, I disagree with you in totality. From the beginning, even Baba Awolowo, go and check part of his records during campaign here in Ogun State. He will tell you during the times that you've talked about, after this person's time, Ogun West will give you the chance to contest to be governor. Baba Obasanjo has consistently talked about the same thing. The former governor, Tubagbenga Daniel, while campaigning, talked about the same thing. The current governor had come out emphatically to talk about the same thing. If there are no marginalizations, these people will not talk about it forever. And they've consistently talked about it. You see, the Digi issue is an issue anywhere you want to share a will in Yoruba culture or context. Every individual will tell you where or the will, whether the English will or the Digi will that pleases them in sharing. But what we have talked about is that in 41 years, one part had not gotten. The third one that you've talked about is that nobody has stopped anybody. The Ogun West people in 2019 are not saying we will not fight for the shirt. We are not asking you out of sentiment to give us shirts this time. Before now, you say they don't have people. Later, you say we don't have money. Now we have the people, we have the money to run for it. We are not asking for you to give us governorship or governance on a platter of gold. We are saying your parties, be it 10, be it 15, the primaries of the parties will be tilted from the beginning. If your party is saying, okay, let's give the shirt to Ogun West Indigene to go and run, then we know we have three parties in the state that once we put their names on the ballot, they will be from Ogun West. That's what we're talking about. We're not saying we're not going to fight for it.
Okay, Honourable Akinosi, I'm sure you'll be familiar with this. Using your analogy of cake sharing between children of the same father. Mhm. When we're also in school, sometimes we cook rice, and then the rule is that we are all going to eat that food in the pot. I'm sure you will be familiar with that.
Yes, I
And
am.
the only thing you have is
Your spoon.
your spoon, and you don't have the right to pour it into a plate. You must take it very hot, just as it is coming down from the fire. Now, who gets shortchanged? The person without a spoon. Am I correct?
Of course. Yes.
If you decide at that point in time to go start looking for spoon, or people are arguing and fighting over the spoon, who uses a particular spoon, those who are ready with their spoon and eating gets a larger chunk of the food. Now, don't you think this is a problem of the Ogun West Territorial District? Um, Let us quickly look at the scenarios you painted. 2003, I recall, um, Otabagwega Daniel promised this same senatorial district that, okay, don't worry, we'll give you a chance. In 2007, that didn't happen. The Ogun West actually supported Gbenga Daniel. He became and won a second term. And then he said, okay, don't worry, 2011, that will be the opportunity. In 2011, the same Ogun West presented Bwega Nasir Isiaka on the platform of PPN after the imbroglio that happened in PDP. And then you had General Tunji Akinosi also being presented from the same Ogun West on the platform of the PDP. 2015, what happened once again? You have the same scenario playing out. This has become a trend where the Ogun West people continue to fight instead of presenting one spoon and quickly get to the cake sharing table and begin to get their own fair share. They continue to fight looking for the spoon, or continue to fight on who starts to eat first, and then the food is finished in the pot or on the plate. How do you react to this?
Thank you very much. Well, your analogy is one that has to do with rice, and this is power. They move together. None of these senatorial districts will say he or she does not have a hand in what is happening elsewhere. In South Africa, after a very long time, when you go to South Africa before Mandela was released from prison, you see that even the thought of the people there, even they that owns the land, think they are the ones that are the refugees on their own land. And that is the same thing that has happened to Ogun West. The marginalization that has taken place over the years was systematic. It is not one of, say, the people are not prepared. The Olabinton scenario that was painted earlier was done even during primaries with the numbers of people that are there. When you have a local government disparity as we have in Ogun State, there is no way we will not have that.
Hold on. Are you saying that this is a deliberate ploy and plan by the political elite to marginalize or stop the emergence of a candidate from Ogun West?
It may not be that from the beginning.
Okay.
If we look at the land mass, of the state, I don't know where or how we came about how we give or allocate local governments to people. With what we have Ogun West has 5,934 square kilometers. And that's what makes up the old Ogun West. Even now, I'm sure will be more than that. Ogun Central has 4,944. And Ogun East has 6,009 square kilometers. In that manner, if you want to share 20 things, even the rice or the cake that we've talked about, there is one that is supposed to have the more. Right? But having done with all that, even the constitution is talking about whether we could have our own LCDAs or local government. But be that as it may, now we've come to the sharing, as it were. What we have said is in 41 years, one has not, it is not, we are three seated here. If for whatever reason, myself and Mr. Ayodo had consistently a portion of the food that you talked about, it is only fair for the two of us to hold on to our spoon and hold back. This young man has not taken anything. All because he's not got
okay. It's the same argument those who are kicking against that is that all Ogun West people are using the same sentiments. Even the local government you've mentioned, election is not won on the number of local government. That's why the constitution has said, one, you win the election by the majority vote, and then because of this issue of local government, 2/3 of elections in this local, which is 11 local governments.
Mr. Ayodo,
And no local government, no zone has 11. And
I'm sorry to please come in here.
Yes,
You've
please.
talked about our revered Baba, the Awujale of Ijebuland, and the sentiments that go with the elections from that area. Are you telling me now that if the Awujale and the Awujale Council says those of Ogun West extraction, we want votes from you and things of that sort, are you saying we will break into those 2/3 in the 9 local government that is there? Whoever tells you that elections are not won per local government, all collations are done.
Not strictly per local government.
That is how we
are must be able to break into the other one.
We will break
no
into
no zone has 11 local governments.
If you break into it, if you do not have sentiment, whoever has 9 already has a higher percentage of just looking for 2. Whoever has 5 is looking for 6. But what we have talked about now is that in 2019, the Ogun West people are not asking for sentiments. We've said we are pleading with your parties. I'm of a political party. The governor is of another. There are other political parties.
The use of the word plead.
Right. We are saying, no, it won't go with sentiment. It will go with sentiment because at the beginning, 5 local governments will not fight 9.
Okay. Now, hold on, Dele. That is a very beautiful submission. 9 local governments in Ogun East, 6 in Central, 5 in West. Does that not tell you and prove to you that Ogun West can never present a candidate or present a governor if you do not work as a team, and also ask or play the game to get the support of both the East and the Central. Are you doing that?
Definitely we are doing that, and that's why I thanked His Excellency the Governor earlier. If Ogun West wants to be governor,
Yes.
we know we need to play the game, and that is what we are saying now.
Yes.
The game is being played now, and that's why we've gotten the support of His Excellency the Governor and the good people of Ogun Central this time around to say, okay, 11. And permit me to say that even now, the Ogun East individuals or elites agree with us too that it is the turn of Ogun West.
Yes.
So even the Ogun East will give support to Ogun West this time around. So it is not a matter of going cap in hand. It's pleading to the conscience of the people that have taken more of this cake to say, okay, let this person have what it rightfully is or has. And that's where we've gotten now. The sentiments you've talked about getting our acts together, there is no political party or no senatorial district that you say we have a senatorial district that has a population of over 2 million inhabitants. And if you are saying, okay, every one of us will sit or sleep and face the same area, right? Then we are not being truthful. In Ogun Central, there is no time you had one person saying, I'm the one that will vie or that will crown or will anoint this person. In Ogun East, the same thing. In Ogun West, if we say it will happen, it is because we are not being truthful. It will not happen. We have multiple political parties, 53 as they are the last count, and they are still registering parties. If the 53 political parties say we are bringing people to the fore, we can't stop them to say we want to vie for it. So we have just said it's the political parties that we need to talk to. And we thank God we've spoken to them. The APC as it is now has done the needful. If the PDP likes, let them do the needful. And if they don't do the needful, the people of Ogun West will move and support the party
I don't know.
that does that.
I don't know who you're working with or what exactly the agenda you're pushing in Ogun West. But I don't know if you've actually looked at the demographic of the votes. Let's look at the 2015 elections, for example. While the supporters of Gweganasio Isaka were jubilating because of their showing in Yewa North, in Mekwafon, and the likes in about 3 local governments in Ogun West, the total votes of that party of the PDP in that election, and by the time it came around, when that of Abeokuta South was announced, swallowed the entire votes of that party in that local in those local governments. Same thing for Abeokuta North. The votes that also came for that same party in Ogun East were also swallowed by the votes that came for the opposing party, that APC in Ayodo, a local government. Same thing for Ewekoro and Ifo. Now, what am I saying? This underlies the importance of this. How many local governments that I mentioned now? 5 local governments. What is Ogun West doing to poach, to invade, and to seek the support of these 5 strategic local governments that give out most of the votes in elections?
Thank you very much. Right. Aside these 5 that you mentioned,
Yes.
right, Obafemi Owode is also a strategic local government
strategic.
and Shagam. Right. Now, in Ogun State, if you are desirous and serious about winning elections, number 1 local government you need to take in or take on is Ayodo local government. Ayodo local government is part of Ogun West Senatorial District. Yes. And for whatever it is, not going into or delving into what happened in 2015, that has come and gone. Even being faster, or I wouldn't want to say rigged, is part of the election processes. Whatever it is that has happened, has happened. But Ogun West, this time around, is working seriously with their brothers in Awori. The Yewas are working hand in hand and in tandem with the Aworis. And we say, this is our time. If you take Ayodo out, you have Shagam, you have Obafemi Owode.
Yes.
Right? Those are local governments that has the largest number of voters as far as the INEC register is concerned. We are working with them, and like I said earlier, Ogun East, the Shagam people, the people that are core Ijebus are also for this program, and I'm sure and I believe that the Ogun Central, you mentioned Abeokuta North, Abeokuta South, Ewekuru, and Ifo. These are people that have keyed into the Ogun West agenda.
Okay, one other thing which you also alluded to, there is a perceived, it's not, well, it's an open secret that there is a particular uh, division between Yewas and Aworis. Now, if two brothers fight, who inherits what they are supposed to inherit? A stranger. If the Yewas and Aworis who belong to Yewa or who belong to Ogun West cannot agree and work together for a common purpose, do you expect an Eastman that wants to inherit your inheritance to come and help you settle the matter or work with you? So that is one issue, and this is peculiar to Ogun West and maybe Ogun East. You have the Jeburemo always also creating those differences, which you do not find in Central. An Egba man will not see an woman as different, or will not see an Ijeje man as different, or a Babura man as different. They believe that they all belong to the Central. So they take one particular decision and one particular direction. How are you going to settle this particular issue?
Tobi, sorry, let me just add to what he has said. The influence of traditional institutions in our elections, we all know. He does talk of division between Rem and Ebu. It really does not stay when we come to this kind of decision.
Yes.
The East has one strong traditional institution that directs everybody in this issue.
And everybody follows.
So, and it does not matter whether you are Remo. The Central, well, naturally has a way of being united, but the West, which you stand for, appears not to have any strong institution that can give them direction, that can use the rod, point to a direction, and everybody for. And it's working against it, like I just said. It's only in the West that we talk of this is an Awori, not a Yewa. This is an Egun, not a Yewa. This is a Hohori or Ketu, not a Yewa. And this is the core Yewa, which never happens in the other two districts.
Thank you very much. We talked about okay, for the avoidance of doubts.
Yes.
I want to be specific now. You've talked about this Yewa and Awori thing. Systematically, our leaders are taking Awori out of a senatorial district. You talked about the traditional institutions. We, the Aworis of Ota, are under the Egba Traditional Council. If our leaders in this state had wanted to do it right, once you created a senatorial district, leave their institution for them to build. But it's not been so. The Aworis are under Egba Traditional Council. The second part of the Awori, that is the Gbesa, the Agbara, the other core Awori towns, are also being shared with the Yewa Traditional Council. So you have now created a scenario where one local government, the largest in terms of voting population, is being divided from the source. So if you are talking about traditional institutions, if the Ayodo people now says, okay, the Yewa Traditional Council says we are voting for the man in red, and the Egba Traditional Council says we are voting for the man in black. You've told us earlier that they have a grip or a hold on these people. How will that work? But permit me to say that God has been on our side, the Yewa and the Awori people are in tandem when it comes to 2019. It's either 2019 or nothing, and that's what we have agreed with ourselves. The 5 local governments that make up that senatorial district. So there will be no division this time around.
All right, if you are just joining us, this is the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM. Citizens Forum this morning, looking at the open issue, the open secret they want to say about where the governorship position should go to in 2019. Strong division between the East and the West, who believes that it should go to their zone. And we have with us someone who believes it should be the Ogun West, Tunji Akinosi. We are actually expecting, still expecting him, Sunday Sholari, who also wants to opine that no, it should be the East, it should be an open thing, let everybody fight for it. Don't close the door against any of us. Honourable Akinosi, let's look at the dynamics of power, or some of the dynamics of power which may come to play in this occasion. We talk about the traditional institution being a strong structure. Now, let's look at leaders now, because that's one argument that I also gone against the West. They do not have somebody who is respected, who is commanding, like the other 2 zones have previously, to clinch this, and that makes them not to. That's the problem always. They've not been able to read the writings right and stay at the right time, at the right place, at the right time. How do you want to react to that?
But I disagree with that. Leaders are what we call them. They don't come in from heaven. What makes a leader is the substance, and most of the time staying firm with whatever he or she believes in. We have very, very many of them in Ogun West. Very, very many of them in Ogun West. And I dare say that when His Excellency Otumba Gbenga Daniel even wanted to start his campaign, the place he sought for leadership and for guidance are from the leaders of the Ogun West. The same thing will be is our incumbent governor. Most of the people that supported him are also from there. So leadership is not our issue. Our issue, as we said, is the distribution of what is in the state. We are the ones that have the largest IGR. If the state believes that, okay, it is work and chop, the people that work or where you get the largest is supposed to be given so much of the attention that needs to be given. Then we would have had all this. Permit me to say that once governorship comes to a side, you see the people there, and that's what's been happening in some parts of the country. You see the people there rejoice and even become much more outspoken on how their state is being governed or being managed. Plead on our behalf, ask our people to see reasons on our behalf, and you'll see that the leadership that you feel is weak will become very, very strong.
Okay. The other thing people have also seen, they call it a characteristics of the Yewa Ogun West people, is that they are not daring. They are not ready, just like they've been doing now, plead and plead. They are not ready to take on the issue fiercely themselves. It appears you like football because you use the example of football. Like, we all know that in football, no team wins a match if you don't have somebody who can turn it on. If you don't have a striker who can take on the defender are not going to give you the chance. you are the one who breaks into it. If you don't have a midfielder who can tear the opposition open, that's a problem. But yeah, that's why the common saying "Yewa Kishewon," which simply means they are not ready to fight for anything. They just want to be complacent and let people bring food on the table for them.
Well, unfortunately, that's the belief of the old. I've said it earlier and I'm saying it again. The Ogun West people in 2019 or moving towards 2019 is not afraid. We are not begging cap in hands. We are only asking for fairness. I'm saying that this time around, we are not going to be complacent. If you say we've been complacent, I will not argue with you, but definitely it had never happened in the last 14 years that some of us have been on the field. And this time around, we will not go cap in hand. We will match anybody from any senatorial district, whichever way they go about it. We are moving around all the 20 local governments. We'll move around all the 236 wards of the state. We'll move around all the newly created LCDAs in the state. This time around, Yewa Okinshewo that we said is just an Omoluabi kind of talk. But this time around, it is going to be, I wouldn't want to use the popular phrase or thing of Ababa, that is going to be fire for fire. But I assure you that in 2019, a different Ogun West is what we will see, and a different Ogun West is what we hope to get.
Is that a statement of fact or fallacy? Because as it is now, I can count more than 15 aspirants that are wearing their heads from Ogun West.
It's a statement of fact. It's not. Once primaries go, it is not wrong, even in the traditional institutions that we talked about, as young or old as some towns are, if you want to have an Obership tussle, right, you would have almost 20 people coming out to say we want to fight. But once the kingmaker say this is the one that is going to fight, definitely everybody falls behind.
All right, yes, Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM, Citizen Forum, trying to see if where any of these two groups can be convincing, talking about where the governorship mantle should be placed in 2019. And our guest is the former commissioner stating the position of Ogun West, Honourable Tunji Akinosi. We are still expecting Sunday Sholani from the east to also give us his, but we have to take this break to allow the 10 o'clock news to come up. After that, we'll still have Honorable Akinosi for sure in the house, and hopefully, if they are not backing out, the other group also coming in. Don't go anywhere. All right, it's good to know that you are still there listening to Rock City 101.9 FM, Daybreak Show Citizens Forum. This morning, we are looking at the two different positions about the governorship race come Ogun 2019. It appears to be far away 18 months, but reality politically is that it's not. And their political activities as to the positioning, alignment, talks, and disagreements are already in year 5. Yes, even when it is 18 months to that period. And we have with us somebody who believes in the position of the Ogun West, Honourable Tunji Akinosi. I talked about Ogun East joining us, but painfully confirmation is that he will not be able to make it here. We just hope that any of you, one of you, who differs with the position of the Ogun West can take that up when we open the telephone lines in a couple of minutes. Let's get your own side of the story. Why do you think it shouldn't be given to any other senatorial zone other than Ogun East? Or you just simply think it should be thrown open, should be a free-for-all thing? We will appreciate if you have somebody who can take that up. We'll give you more than the time. We have strong position, not just parochial positions. Okay. All right, straight on, we'll open the telephone lines. Let's get your question, comment, opinion for Joseph.
Well,
Check the
well,
box.
thank you very much. Mr. Kayode wanted an open contest. I want to say to you that I thank you. We will want an open contest too, but just as the last but one speaker, Chief Ayobode, said, moral, the Yorubas are known for their Omoluabi attitude and to be fair in whatever it is that we do. That moral point is what we want you to look at, and let us move from there. I thank Mr. Olamilekon. Dr. Salako talked about restiveness. I believe our leaders, we pride ourselves in Ogun State and indeed this part of Nigeria, educationally, to have had over 91% of those that are educated, and we have leaders that measure up to the standard. I think they should also start looking at that. But all things being equal, all those that have talked in favor of Ogun West. Mr. Johnson that talked about ego flexing and people moving around, I believe that's what the Ogun West aspirants will start doing from now. They've started doing it. Mr. Ayobode also spoke about us doing more. I assure you, sir, that the Ogun West candidate aspirants from all part of the parties, we have 558 days to the first election today, to February 16, 2019. And I want to assure you that all our sons and daughters that want to vie will start moving out. Thank you very much.
All right, keep your messages coming. 32120. Tap rock, leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. Ogun Bosun says the person that will succeed the governor should not concentrate on only one aspect of the economy. I will support a person from Ogun West. Adewale Shibwale says, with due respect, I don't believe anybody, no matter how highly placed, to dictate to indigenes of the state. The people should have a free hand to elect if we are really practicing a democracy. Zoning post is not fair enough to the political system. It will certainly not give us the best. How do you react to that, Honourable QC?
Well, the person that talked about zoning positions not giving us the best, I want to agree with him that zoning reduces or limits the very good heads that will vie for it. But zoning is part of our constitution. If we want to say zoning should go away, the leaders that had it to the constitution, in their own wisdom, know why. And I believe when we get to a point where, just as we used the analogy that we used earlier, if the three senatorial districts now have a shot at it, after 2019, no state or nobody in this state will be talking about zoning anymore. And I want to plead with them that whatever it is, the goalpost should not be shifted until when the Yewas and the Aworis have their own shot at goal. Thank you.
Okay, telephones to reopen.
This one from Larry says, good morning. Your analysis may fail in terms of saying that you have spoken with the Egbas. You should not forget the other parties like the ADP who will field their candidate from the Egba division, or you have you dialogued with them? More so, Ijebu support a formidable, strong candidate while they will capture votes from the Egba Egbado. If you feel governor is supporting you, uh, can the person work with empty stomach? That's coming from Larry. We are victims of jaundice system. To develop and evolve, election to political office should be on personal merit, a constitutional and attitudinal issue that must be rectified urgently. Let no one be deceived that the present absurdity will lead us anywhere. Rather, it is recipe for savage politics, corruption, and disaster. Cosmos sent in that one. As much as I'm in support of Yewa agenda for 2019, I don't think the electorate will support any Yewa candidate who is not credible. We, the people of Ogun State, are not ready to get it wrong on the altar of Yewa candidacy. Dari sent in that one. Mr. QC, answer this question. Why should any outgoing governor be interested in who succeed him in office? And why must he also begin to suggest why a particular race will step aside or be at the background for the others to shine? Don't you think it is the people that will determine how far? In fact, it is with the third parties, the third party that will determine your fate, whether there is any godfather anywhere, and only if the father wants peace in his home. What is your take on he who the governor is putting his take on? That's Kayode Olumide. Excuse me. IK for me for says one thing we have to understand is that if the central support the west and east face off, IK, your question is not that clear. All right, this one says only the best is good for Ogun State, no matter for what zone. Concession is inimical to democracy and poisonous to the unity and harmony of the state. Would the cap fits? No semblance of imposition. Oladosu Ademola sent in that one. You want to quickly react to this before we go to the tweets?
Thank you very much. It's getting more interesting. I thank those that have talked, sent in their messages. Mr. Kolawole spoke about his support for Yewa. The others that talked about, even Mr. Olaiton spoke about it, but we shouldn't rely on the governor. Please let me put this out here, that why I mentioned Mr. Governor's name and I thank him on behalf of the Ogun West people is that he also supports that age-long thought that there is a marginalization. So it's not that we have said since the governor is supporting, then we should go home and sleep. No, we have said we thank him just as we did Baba Obasanjo, just as our fathers did Baba Olowo, just as we did His Excellency Otumba Gbenga Daniel when they also came out to support that thought that our people are being marginalized. So please let's take the governor's issue out of it. As the father of the state, he is also an individual that should say what he feels as an individual. So those that have talked after Mr. Olaiton also talked about credible applicants or credible aspirants. I want to assure us here that we will bring aspirants that are credible. And the last speakers or those that sent SMS also said the power of election is in the hands of the people. That is what we also understand. That is what we also agree with. The person that talked about one individual, there is nowhere we will agree or nowhere that will be possible that in a population of over 2 million people, you just say we are bringing one person to the Ogun people to vote for. It is not, that's not democracy. That will not happen in this case. We are bringing people to you that we feel as a people are credible and that our sons are or our daughters in Ogun West. And we are asking that the good people of Ogun State should please vote for them. But I will not say there is just one person that we are bringing. We will get our acts together, even as big and small as Remo is. When they had their turn in 2003, not one person came out of that zone to vie for the election. So you wouldn't expect one person to come out from the Ogun West Senatorial District to vie. We are a people that knows what is best, and the best is what we are going to put forward. Mr. Lanre talked about the ADP and the Egba people coming up with a candidate. I want to plead that when that time comes, we would cross that bridge. But whatever it is, wherever it is that we find ourselves, the Egbas and the Ogun Central people, I'm sure, will support the best. My mom is from Egba. She's from Abeokuta North, and I know that the Egbas are known for their being fair. And I believe that this time around, they will not leave that age-long thing that they have to now start doing things that is not right. So when that time comes, I am sure that the Egbas will work for the best. You talked about walking on empty stomach. I don't know what that means. But that, excuse me,
Politics of stomach infrastructure.
in governance and in working for those that will govern us, I think we should please take whatever it is that our stomach needs out of it. The Mr. Cosmos, Mr. Dari, Mr. Kayode, Mr. Ademola also talked about us bringing our best foot forward, and I want to assure you those are the fruits that we'll bring forward, God willing. Thank you very much.
Messages, more messages, can we read?
All right, so this one says, I think it is high time to allow Yoruba people to do it. I see no development in Ogun West. Let them do it. Ijebu people should wait for their own turn. That's Sakara Man, Olayode. And this one, Delani Robert says, the person that will continue the good work done by Amosun should be elected governor in 2019. And this one said, the idea of mentality of it is our turn to eat doesn't show seriousness or commitment to development. We want better Ogun State come 2019. That's coming from Olusegun. Olusegun once again says, if truly people can give room for proper democracy in electing the candidate of the people and not by means of selection, enough of Godfather. Okay, and this other one says, I do beg you people, leave political differences and work together so that you can be governor in 2019. God bless Nigeria. That's Sakara Man. Salam Yoluashe says, nice discussion. Gov Ibikunle says, have you met with your leaders that are eating from their stands with other zones? Or is it not the opportunity to sell this? Gov Ibikunle, sorry, your tweet is not that clear. The abbreviations actually made a nonsense of it. You might send a very lengthy one later on. And this one says, this time around, Ogun West should take promises of support with a pinch of salt and be adequately strategic in the contest. Yemi Da Vinci says, when are we as a people going to stop identity politics, that is, politics of where you're from? It won't bring sustainable development. Nobody has started having a serious discussion about aspirants' manifestos or how they plan to reduce the state enormous debt burden. Jobi Yusuf says, if the Yewas are really fit to be the next governor of the state, let them contest and not asking for sympathy from other districts. Jandele Humbo says, it is curious that some who claim to support Yewa also insist they must decide who the Yewa can put forward to represent them. All right, Yemi Da Vinci once again, we should be looking for someone who can drive a 21st century development centered around service delivery, infotech, and synergy, really. However, based on strategy and logistics, Yoruba people are going about this wrongly, in my own opinion. It seems they want to stampede the rest. The rest of Ogun State will naturally resist it. They should have been more subtle in this hustle, and worries are being marginalized in this hustle. I call this an hustle, as it's just a jostle for position by the political elite and would really substantially benefit the people of Ogun State. Mr. Akinosi, there's hardly any pure-blooded Yoruba Wori without Ijebu, Egba, Remo blood, little otherwise, so I think this agitation is useless. Adekunle Kehinde says Yewa should not be a third fiddle in Ogun State politics. The candidate should deal with the personal interest and stick to Yewa agenda. Yewa is good to go. Mr. Akinosi, what do you think about this Tokumbo and Tekumbo issue over this gubernatorial race? Yemi Da Vinci once again, I propose a simple solution to this impasse between Ogun East and Ogun West. A Yewa Wori man with Remo Ijebu mother who grew up in Abeokuta.
All right, that's an interesting theory.
Okay, all right, Mr. Akinosi, your reactions.
Well, thank you very much. That last part of it will take, I don't know, maybe we'll have to send those of you here down. Yewa Wori.
We'll look for DNA experts
to do that for us. Well, I want to thank those that have contributed. And I say again that the 2019 contest, 558 days to go. God willing, sparing our lives, we shall bring our best foot to the fore. Mr. Saka, Mr. Ramon, Mr. Olusegun, Mr. Salami, Mr. Kunle, Mr. Yemi Da Vinci, Mr. Humbo, Mr. Tokumbo, and the others. that have come in to put their pen to paper. I want to say that the issues that we've talked about is not on sentiment. We've come from historical perspective, what has happened from the beginning. I thank God that Nigerians are also thinking away from the usual, let it be ethnical, let it be from this ethnic, let it be from this zone. I plead that once it goes around, we'll start talking about that and we'll do what we need to do. Somebody talked about being strategic. We have been strategic about our movement, and that was why I said this time around we are not going cap in hand to beg for this. A political contest is one that you move around all the states. I want to say that if tomorrow we do not have an Ogun West aspirant that has done that, those of us too vying for Ogun West governorship will know that even before the elections we failed. Nobody will sit at home and now be crying over a milk that is not his or hers. Mr. Yemida talked about a governor that will think of our debt burden, service delivery, and things like that. That's why we have said all aspirants should go out and be tested. I want to say 101.92 will at a point bring all aspirants here and we'll talk about their manifestos. That is why we are Ogun State. We are not like other states that has 20% educational level of those that have been educated. We have over 90% of those that have been educated as indigenes of Ogun State. You talked about the Aworis being left out. I want to say to you that I'm an Awori man from Igbesa in Ado-Odota local government. And I dare say that we are part of this team, we are part of this game, that this time around it should be the turn of the Ogun West people. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. It is on that note that we'll call it a day on the show this morning. We want to appreciate every one of you who called, those who sent messages, and those who tweeted, and those who posted on our Facebook fan page. We want to appreciate you, Honourable Tunji Akinosi, for honoring our invitation.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much for being part of the show. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. And God bless Rock City FM. I am Tobi Joseph.
And I'm Dele Ayodo. The program will be back fresh tomorrow. I say God bless you all. God bless Rock City. God bless Nigeria.